Hello, folks. Welcome to Cocktail Hour. I hope you're enjoying yours with me. I'm a gin martini kind of a guy, and I have to say my favorite gin lately is Litchfield, which is kind of a local distillery near my home, so I don't have to go too far to get it. Uh, I generally use an olive because, as Christopher Hitchens pointed out, it's more nutritious. So, just for those of you who like a lemon, I prefer the olive. Anyway, thank you for being here, and thank you for sending in questions. I'm really looking forward to answering some of them for you. But I'm going to start by just sort of having a conversation with you as if we were just getting to see each other for the first time, which we are. I hope you're safe. I hope you're healthy. I hope your loved ones are. I'm very lucky. We're lucky here in Sherman, Connecticut. It's a relatively rural part of Connecticut and very close to the New York border. So there's a lot of woods and a lot of meadow, and that's been particularly wonderful for us in the last months of this terrible crisis, where so many people have not had that kind of a chance to, be in a beautiful place. We are. And we've lived here for quite a while now. And I've also really enjoyed not having to commute to Westport. It's a long commute from here and also into New York on Metro North. So we've been pretty much hunkering down, enjoying a lot of great food, courtesy of my husband, Jerry, who's a fantastic cook, and staying a lot in touch with really good friends and family and that sort of thing via Zoom and various other ways. And also we've been doing a lot of planning at the Playhouse. There's a staff in place, a skeleton staff. As you probably know, we've had to furlough almost half of our beloved staff, passionate and devoted staff. And we're working with some of them when we can, but mostly we're working with a very tight group of people to keep the theater alive, and with our trustees who are being extraordinarily generous. I don't know about you. I hope you'll stay home for Thanksgiving. It won't be the same being without family. We usually get together with 4 very old friends that we've known for many, many years. It's a tradition. They all live in Connecticut. And this year, one of them is a doctor, and he basically said, not this year. So we're just going to be together with our dog. We'll give him some leftover turkey, I suppose, and that's about it. Let me start with some questions that come my way a lot. First of all, how do I plan a season? That's the big question. That's the question everybody asks me all the time. All artistic directors are asked this. Here's how I do it. I work with a small group of people I really trust. There's a wide age range among us. And we just bring a lot of ideas into the room every few weeks. We meet all year long. We're acutely aware of what's going on in the zeitgeist, in politics, in culture, etc. We're also receiving scripts from new writers, and we're looking at a lot of older plays as well. But what basically I try to do is pretend that anybody coming to the Westport Country Playhouse during our season of 5 plays and musicals or what have you, that this will be their only chance to go to the theater all year long. There's no New York, there's no other theater that they go to. I just think about, if you could only be here, how could we provide for you the widest range of content on our stage? And because I've got a pretty eclectic nature in terms of the things I like and the things I enjoy, we really run the gamut from musicals to new plays to old plays, redone, rethought. 2 of our most successful plays were plays I never expected to be presenting again. The Diary of Anne Frank was one. Another was Raisin in the Sun. But because of the nature of the moment that we found ourselves in for various reasons, certainly after the election of Obama, Raisin in the Sun resonated in a new way. And it certainly did for our audiences as well. So that went into the season in a beautiful production directed by Phylicia Rashad. So that's how I put a season together. I try to think sort of, we don't have a comedy here. We don't have a big, bold statement here. We don't have a great classic here. let's try to complete the theater goer's experience as best we can. Now I'm going to answer some questions that you have sent in. I'm so grateful to have heard from you. Megs asks, he says, I've always wondered how you go about evaluating how well a brand new unproduced play will translate to the stage. What do you look for? Do you need to visualize it, or is there a checklist of essentials? This is a wonderful question. Thank you so much. And it has many answers. It's almost quixotic the way it starts. You open a script, you've never heard of the writer, and you read the first page. And I guess my first instinct is I don't want to be too patient before I find myself gripped, either by a situation that I find amusing or dramatic or quirky or unusual. In the first few pages of a new play, if it's appealing to me, I'll keep reading. About 20 pages in, and this is the general, I would think most new play readers and most artistic directors and directors would agree with me. About 20 pages into a new script, you know whether it's something you can get behind and you really want to produce, or whether it's just not going to fly for you. It may be given a brilliant production by someone else at another theater, but for me personally, if I can't be 1,000% supportive of this writer's voice and vision, I will move on. And then when we get together as a group, the 5 of us who constitute the artistic staff of the Playhouse, we all talk about it. And if some people will say, Mark, you've got to start it again and think about it differently. I think it's a really important play. We talk about the pros and cons of it like that. I give it to other people to read sometimes if I'm on the fence. Sometimes I can be convinced that it's worth producing, but more often than not, 99% of the times, if I'm not gripped by it in some way, it goes off the table. And because the buck basically has to stop with me, I'm responsible for what goes on that stage, good, bad, or indifferent. There isn't a checklist of essentials other than what I've just told you. The really interesting thing then happens in a reading of the play. That's the next step. If you can get some actors together in a room with a director, if it's not me, and they read the play, we cast it as well as we can, and they read the play, and maybe the playwright's there. We can hear how the play lives, and bounces, and has life, or doesn't, or needs work. Or, if it does need work, how much work does it need? Because basically, I've been doing this for a long time, and I have to say that the best successes I've had with new plays, they have come through the transom, needing hardly any changes whatsoever. So this kind of myth of let's work the play and work it, and I know I can fix this, is for my money, has never paid off. It sometimes works in a commercial situation where you have months of previews, many readings, etc. But even then, those of you who go to Broadway and off Broadway know that very often you're sitting at a dud that doesn't speak to you at all. So it's very personal, I admit, and it's also a real thrill, because when that first audience comes in, and that first preview audience, which is a tremendously important group of people to us, we begin to see how the life of the play will manifest itself. And it's a tremendous moment for the writer, for all of us. Sometimes it's a terrifying moment, but more often than not, we've had some nice successes here with new writers, and some of them have moved to off-Broadway and had further life in other theaters. Here's another question. This is from Marianne. She'd like to hear about what changes would I consider when we return to, quote, normal at the Playhouse. Do you think performances and productions will change in any way? Will we go back to where we were? Well, that's a very good question. And it's one that the staff discusses on an almost daily basis. What we are providing our subscribers and our audiences in 2021 are 5 experiences. They may be virtual, some of them. They may be outdoors, some of them. They may be indoors if there's a vaccine and everybody can be safe. We are constantly looking at ways of providing for the community theater in some form or other, whether it be like this, on a platform like this, or whether it's live. I think it's pretty safe to say that no matter how you're feeling health-wise, you'd love to have a live experience. But on the other hand, I'm being driven by the science. Nothing else is driving our reopening, but safety for our audiences, for our artists. It's one thing to think about your safety as an audience. It's another thing to think about how we rehearse a play. I think if one thing has come home to me during this crisis, it's how incredibly intimate my business is, my work is. We are, I'm in a room with people, in a rehearsal room with people screaming at each other, throwing themselves at each other, making love to each other, kissing, fighting, spitting in each other's faces, laughing together. I mean, you name it. And it's all happening in a room with stage managers, director, maybe a choreographer, a fight choreographer. We're a whole bunch of people. And then you get backstage and, if you know anything about the theater, every backstage everywhere, especially on Broadway, but anywhere, is just tightly packed. Everybody's cheek by jowl. Well, we can't do that now. We can't do that until it's safe to do that. So it starts with the performers and then, of course, you. I don't know when we'll get back to normal. I suspect that normal will be very different. I suspect that this kind of electronic, medium will endure somehow and be a positive thing. Nothing will replace a community of people in a theater watching a community of people on stage. There's nothing that will replace that. And we are all hungry to get back to that. We will get back to it. It's going to be a while. And until we do, we're going to find other means of communicating with you, playing with you, entertaining you, and giving you dramatic experiences as best we can. We also are, to a certain extent at this point, hindered by the unions, the Actors Union, Actors Equity, my union, the stage directors and choreographers, USA, the United Scenic Artists. All of us are concerned for our members' safety. So until the unions allow people to be in the same room together, that's not going to happen. And until the governors allow you to be together in a room or under a tent, it's not going to happen. I think there will be a new normal, and I think it's going to be a very exciting one, to be honest with you. I really do. And then there's going to be, I bet you, a tremendous reinvestment in live theater, the live experience, after all the time we're spending like this with each other and with entertainment, such as it is. So I hope that kind of answers your question, Marianne. There's another question here from Sandy and Peter, and they'd like to hear why nothing has been done with the Script in Hand series during the COVID crisis. They write, it seems such a natural, and you could be earning funds for the Playhouse. They're baffled. Well, first of all, think back to what I just said about Actors Equity. We can do it. There have been various changes in the rules for equity actors working in this form, and we've had to kind of navigate those. The big thing is that Annie Keefe, the co-director of our Script in Hand series with Mark Shanahan, is among one of our furloughed employees and has been since March, early April. She's still working with us on an hour-by-hour basis for certain things. And I can promise you that we will be doing our first Zoom Script in Hand in January. That's the plan at any rate. We've just found the script that we love, and it's going to start there. The other reason we haven't done them is that I have not liked what I've seen in Zoom performances and readings. I find them extremely boring. I find them hard to watch and rather dull. Other people I know don't. I just feel like a lot of them have looked really terrible and have not served the actors or the scripts very well. So we're going to experiment and start bringing them back in January with a very special one that's actually written by the co-director of the Script in Hand series, Mark Shanahan. So watch for that. You'll get a notification. The other question that I got this morning was they'd love to hear if I'm buying the cocktails. Well, no, I'm not. I'm nonprofit. We're the Westport Country Playhouse. We need to survive. And we need you to do that. We need you to help us. I want you to know that we are surviving. It's really challenging, but we're, thanks to donors and trustees and people like you out there who've been so helpful, we are going to come back. I want to let you know before I close that we're going to begin our Westport Country Playhouse Suspense Theater of the Air with 2 airings of one of the greatest ghost stories of all time, Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, with WSHU, our favorite radio station. The dates are going to be December 19th, Saturday at 12 and 1, 2 parts. And on the day after Christmas, 26th, at 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock, the 2 parts. It's a unique and very different version of Christmas Carol, yet it retains all the great things about the Christmas Carol in Mark's marvelous adaptation because it takes place at the Playhouse. And we channel London and Scrooge and all of that from where we are in Westport. So I hope you can join us for that. You'll be getting more information about it. And until we meet again, chin chin. Thank you.